You've got commitment. And what capital always is looking for is commitment. You know, they need conviction. They need to see that very thing. I will give you and walk you through right now the exact same exercise that I did with Dante a little while ago. And I will tell you the same thing I told him. If you are willing to do this exercise exactly as prescribed and to complete it within the next 72 hours, you will create, you, not me, for you, you will create the possibility of having more capital than you need relative to the number of units you're currently approved or could go get. But you've got to be willing to complete this exercise exactly as prescribed. And you've got to be willing to do the exercise within 72 hours. If you do this, it will give you access to the capital you need, period. Are you willing to do it? And this is where we can sometimes get into some challenge. There's a lot behind the words. When you go through Income Infusion, you'll understand why we don't start conversations with, hey, how are you doing and what's going on? You'll understand why we do that. It is literally, hey, Matt, Jay, I know we haven't spoke for a long time, but I'm calling for two reasons. One, talk business. Second, catch up. Literally that's sterile, if you will, that direct. After you catch up, it is exactly these words. You know, I was calling and I'm a little nervous, especially if that's the emotion you're feeling. I'm a little nervous. I have no idea what you're saying. But there's something that's really important to me that I need to share. Are you willing to listen? Do you have a moment? Are you willing to listen? Yeah, of course. Great. Have you ever considered getting involved in real estate investing? I did. Okay. After they answer, really? Why? This is the only time you don't really care what their answer is. I mean, you do care, but you don't care, meaning regardless of whether they say yes or whether they say no, your response is going to be very, very similar in nature, regardless of what they say. Because now you're going to say, hey, right now, what's happening is I'm in the process of starting a brand new business. And what I'm looking for individuals whose retirement plans have approximately $50,000 to $100,000 in it and would appreciate being able to get a consistent 7% return on their money. Do you happen to know anyone who might like something like that? Those things are very important. Do you happen to know anyone who might like something like that? Because as you go through this process, what those words specifically sequence will mean, I'm not talking about you. But if it is you, great. That's what you're saying without saying it. Do you happen to know anyone? See, that removes all of the pressure. I'm not trying to take something from you. I don't want nothing. I'm calling to catch up and I'm calling to talk business. And I already don't think you are one of the people. That is what you're saying. But more importantly, you're opening the door to the people that it could to who they know who it could possibly be. What ends up happening is either they self-identify, I am, or they say they're not, but I know someone, which then you get the referral, or they say I'm not, and no, I don't know anyone, which is also fine. All three answers are great. Because now you know what? No problem. If you happen to run into somebody. So this is the complete no situation. They don't have any money. They don't know anyone who might be interested in anything like that. Great. If you happen to run into someone in the future who says something like that to you, do you have someone that you could refer them to? No, I don't. Because that's really the answer. And then it's, do you mind if I become that person? No, I don't mind at all. Great. I like to stay in contact with all of my clients and customers and referral sources. typically via email and or text. What is the best email? The one that you answer. What's the best email? The one that doesn't put me in spam, that you would respond to. So where I'm coming from is when you follow the sequence, you have one of three outcomes. You have a referral. You have the actual person with money, or you're beginning to build your database at minimum so that you can begin to stay in contact. These are all three activities you need to do anyway. I need you to make the call, because what ends up happening is that people don't know that you're in business, so they can't help you. And they're not going to keep talking to you if they think every time you call them, you want money from them. But you need help to be in business, because I'm making an assumption you either can't, don't have the money to advertise. And specifically, advertising for investors is beyond crazy expensive. So this is how it's done. Now, when we get back to being able to do things in person, you're going to follow that up, especially the straight no person. You're going to follow that up with a cash flow game, and you're going to get to know people, and you're going to educate to dominate, and you're going to have more capital than you need. But it starts with this phone call and all of them, and in that sequence. But in this case, words in the sequence matters a lot. That is it. But you've got to do all of them. You can't stop because it doesn't feel good, or you're not getting the responses you think or feel you should get, or it's uncomfortable. And if you are already willing to be on your coaching calls with John at the daycare, I get the feeling that very little stops you from doing the things you want to get done. I just need you to thoroughly complete the entire exercise, because it will, again, you may get nothing from any of the people you know, and it'll still be successful because they, at least worst case scenario, everybody now knows you're in business, which is more than what you have right now. That's your worst case scenario.
Also told them, hey, still go look for units.
Oh, absolutely. It's not one or the other. They both happen simultaneously. It happens it's the chicken or the egg. Which comes first? They both come at the same time. The closer you are to actually signing a lease, the more urgency is actually in your voice. So it's easier to be urgent and focused that way. So it just works in your favor. That the intention, because when the intention is right, it's all good.
We have a student with us, and so you may remember you helped her a little while ago, a couple of months ago. She had some stocks, and you helped her figure out how to get a loan against those stocks. And so now she has the exact opposite problem. She has money, and what she has in her head is that she wants to go purchase a property because she needs a place to live for herself so that she can live in it, because she needs some place to live. Come April, she needs a place to live.
Okay.
So, but she's got some money, and she said, well, I would like to purchase a property,
okay,
possibly a duplex.
Okay.
And so that I can have some place to live and, rent out the other side short term.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, why do you feel like you need to purchase a property? Why don't you just go ahead and set up some units so that you can have that cash flow? Is that what you would tell her to do too?
That is okay. So that is in general the recommendation for all the reasons, right? Because it's ultimately what do they want? If you're saying, if someone comes to me and says, I'm tired of the result I have generated around money thus far, and I want something different. And then they describe different as being things, what typically is said is things like financially free and retirement, this and that and the other. Great. Then in order to achieve that, we need to switch up how you've been using money. And so if you want to achieve that, if that is still the goal, in order to achieve that, here's the sequence. Sequence matters. The sequence is you build cash flow, and from that cash flow, you buy more assets and if you want to have a place, and in the meantime, that means you rent until you have cash flow sufficient to buy the things you want. Or maybe you decide that, hey, this renting thing ain't so bad so long as I have a place to stay, because now you don't have to tie up all of the money in equity. Ultimately, when you ask me, how can I, like, especially if they're reading the book, the Silver and Gold book, how can I make sure that I'm in the best position possible to begin to exceed the what's going on in the marketplace? Then yes, that's what you need to do. You need to build streams of cash flow long before you purchase a home, because the moment you purchase a home, especially to live in, even a duplex, I don't care how many realtors and government officials and grandmas and friends have told you, they're all wrong, because the math, they're 1 + 1 still equals 2. When your friends say it's equal 3, they're wrong. The math says cash flow first, long before you start buying these things that begin to suck money out of your life, aka buying a home to live in as a personal resident. It becomes an income drain, period. Now, if you just want the warm, fuzzy feeling of having a home and that makes you feel good, fine. But I'm not going to pretend as though you're doing the best with your money. The two don't exist. And I'm okay with that. And if you're okay with that, then fine. So that's really the situation. If you want to own a home because you want to own a home, fine. But you are wrong if you think you are owning a home and being and putting yourself in a position that allows you to financially advance at the same rate. You're not. And that's called science, also known as math. So either way you put it, I don't have a problem with you buying a home. I have a problem with you when we buy one and how we've been taught to do this as this is how we get ahead. While home ownership does benefit families, it doesn't benefit entrepreneurs as much, simply because our capacity to put resources together and use them is greater than the capacity to buy a house and do something with, and live there and just let things happen. All you got to do is look at, and here's a crazy example today, because it makes literally no sense, but Tesla stock is mixed stupid. When's the last time you had a house go up 700% in a year?
Right.
Somewhere near never is your answer. And that's because the company has the capacity to create value on a scale like we've never seen. Well, entrepreneurs have the same thing. Every time you create a short-term rental unit, and again, depending on how you're operating area of the country, you're easily creating $50,000 of equity. So here's what I know. You can have your house. I'll take the same capital and create $500,000 equity the first year. And you're like, yeah, see, we're the same. Wonderful. What do you think is going to happen the second year? My equity is going to double. Is yours? Maybe. What about the third year? Fourth? Fifth? This is how you end up falling behind. You use capital inefficiently. You fail to realize that it's a tool. It's stored up energy like everything else. That's all I'm saying. But go buy a house. Just do so and know that that warm, fuzzy feeling, yay, you did it. But that's what you're buying. Now, people typically don't like the fact that I'm that direct with it. But that's not my problem. My goal, why I'm here, is to help you move forward.